Welcome back to another review. I'm Borelstein, and today I got a double feature. We're going to be reviewing I'm Thinking of Ending Things, the book, and the movie. Okay, anyway, so where to start off with? I give the movie like a fucking dog shit out of 10. I can see why Charlie Kaufman chose to adapt this book, given what I've read about Synecdoche, his other movie that people masturbate over. But let's get into what the fuck the story even is about. So, we are traveling with an unnamed female protagonist and Jake. And they are, late 20 something professionals, maybe? And they're traveling to visit Jake's parents during what appears to be a snowstorm slash blizzard. But don't worry, they got the chains. Chains go on the tires if you live in the South. So, while we're traveling to the parents, this is when the book is at its peak, in my opinion, and this is when the movie is at its worst. So, in the book, we get all these interesting reflections from the unnamed female protagonist, who we only see things from her POV. We get all these interesting reflections like, the first time that her and Jake, had sex, how they met, different things that she thought about when those moments happened. And one of the most interesting things about the book is that how it works in this really fucked up mindset when you're reading these reflections. So the unnamed female protagonist, which I don't know, let's just call her Jane, I guess. Jane reflects after having sex with Jake for the first time that she, quotes, wanted to make him jealous, and starts talking about other guys that she slept with. And it's just like, when you read this, you're like, what? I am reading actual mental illness. Like, this book, I shit you not, if you want to read actual mentally ill thoughts that are unhelpful, distressing, and born out of just the void, Pandora's box of a mind, the first third of this book is right up your alley. I gotta turn the fucking heat off because I'm about to melt. 1 second. I'm not editing this out. Okay. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. So, like I was saying, the first third of this book is peak mental illness writing. You are not gonna see a better depiction inside someone's mind who is mundanely mentally ill. I shit you not. It is great. I say this as a mental health professional. Read this fucking book if you want to read about mental illness. It's great. So, how does the movie handle this? Well, the movie handles this mostly by having the main girl, Jane, repeat over and over again, I'm thinking of ending things. Oh, I should end things with Jake. Oh, there's not enough time. And all these kind of like moments where she tries to start breaking up with him, but then like kind of slinks back and fails to do so. And that's something that the book also does. But the book weaves in what she likes about Jake and what she values in him and how she likes him. And when we get to the end of the story, that's going to be really fucking important for the book. The problem is that the movie has virtually no reflections, positive at all, from the main girl regarding the relationship. And this hits a huge fucking point in the film where it just completely diverges from the book in a way that it becomes unsatisfying as a watcher of just the movie if you never read the book, because it's like, what the fuck is happening? And it's also unsatisfying if you read the book because you know how much better the story could have been if you actually had levity, reasons why these characters are even in a relationship at all, and these kinds of things. And like I said, once you get to the end, those things recontextualize in the novel for an enhanced experience, for like the twist. But in the movie, there is nothing. You don't even know what the twist is in the movie. You have to fucking do guesswork, essentially, because it's so abstracted at the end of the movie. So, that's the first 1/3 of the book. The movie is, I have to say this right off the bat. Maybe people are going to roast me on this, that I just didn't get it. Maybe Charlie Kaufman just isn't my thing. But I have to say, and I'm really a stickler for this, I hate how they did the voices for the characters. So clearly, this is a heavily ADR film. They had to get the actors to come back in and do voiceover work for the scenes because there was no way they actually got good takes. You know, because like a lot of the voice work is the character's thoughts, the leading girl's thoughts. The problem is that the direction that they gave her is terrible. She is like right up to the fucking mic. So generally, you're kind of like supposed to talk like kind of like to the side of the mic or like across the mic, so you're not talking right into the mic. Because I think when you talk to the side of it or across it, it reduces the pee popping noises and allows you to enunciate clearer while not like blowing the mic up. I think. Anyway, either way, regardless, she's way too close to the mic. Her voice is too raspy and shitty. She's not enunciating enough, and her voice is quiet as fuck. And there's all this like the windshield wipers are going, and the storm is going, and it's unfucking listenable. It is fucking miserable. And the worst part is that honestly, it is like in the book, her thoughts are the most interesting part of the entire book. In the movie, we never have a single one of her interesting thoughts ever. They didn't include any of those interesting things at all, which is just despicable. It's so despicable that they did this. We spend so much time with Jake's parents, and it's so fucking boring. I couldn't wait to get out of there in the movie. In the book, it's interesting because you get in, it's weird, there's a delay, it's weird, it's really weird, turns into a thriller briefly, and then they go to Dairy Queen. But in the movie, it's just like, okay, this movie is becoming absurdist and surreal and abstract, but like I don't care about anyone here because nobody has been established to be actually worthwhile to care about. Whereas like at least in the book, you're caring about the point of view character because she's clearly going through some things and you want to figure out how she's going to resolve them. But in the movie, everyone just comes off so fucking fake. It's disgusting. So, part two, we get to the house. This is initially basically the same in the book and in the movie. So they go there. Jake doesn't want to go inside. They walk around the outside. It's like literally fucking freezing, but they're walking around outside the house because Jake doesn't want to go in the house. And they look at like a dead pig that was getting eaten by maggots or some shit. And Jake's really reluctant to talk about what it's like living with animals because sometimes you have to kill them and it's uncomfortable, blah, 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 blah. And then they go into the house. And then they go in the house and then they have dinner. It takes like 5 ever for the parents to show up. There's clearly some tense relationship between mom and dad. And then like girl is looking for support from Jake during a lot of these conversations with mom and dad. And Jake's just like fucking stun locked the whole fucking time. He's not saying anything. And it's like, what the fuck's going on? And it's really awkward and weird. And then the dinner's over and then they're doing dishes. And then this is the interesting part. So Jane goes downstairs in the basement where she's told to like not go. And it's like one of those unfinished basements. And there's just like an easel and a chair and a painting. And she looks at the painting. It's of, I think of her. And it's a painting of the room that the easel is facing. And then there's a bunch of these paintings of different people in this room. So it's like, what is this, like the Blair Witch Project? Like they take people and they put them in this room and then they paint them and then they kill them. Like is you know, Jane, is she in trouble? Is she gonna die? What the fuck's gonna happen here? You don't know. And you hear some weird conversation above because she's like listening through like one of those vents. If you have like one of those shitty houses like I grew up in, where it just has those shitty open vents, so like the basement is like just a fucking sound room of like every fucking noise coming from upstairs. So like she can hear mom and dad arguing about something, and it's really weird. It's really intense. And then she goes upstairs and she sees a picture of a girl in Jake's room that's supposed to be Jake, but it's actually her or something like that. It's really bizarre. And then whatever. Then they go to Dairy Queen, and that's it. They go to Dairy Queen, and Jake really wants to go to Dairy Queen, and then they talk to some girl there, and then the girl is like, no, you know, you don't. I'm in danger. You're in danger. You got to get out of there. And then they leave. And then then Jake's like, oh, we got to go to the school now for whatever fucking reason. So Jake's just fucking drives down this road to the school, and she doesn't want to go there, but she's like kind of like acquiesces. And then they have like a little bonding moment on their drive to the school that kind of like recaptures their relationship for a bit, and it's kind of cute. And then which leads into, you know, Jake has to throw away some fucking garbage. He got like a lemonade or something that he hated. and it takes forever. She's like freezing her fucking ass off, and then Jake comes back, and then they start like making out and getting hot and heavy. And in the book, it makes sense. In the movie, all they do is kiss, and then we get a flash of a man watching them kissing from behind like a peephole. That there's no possible way they could have even have seen this guy, given how dark it was from where he was watching. And Jake goes full Tarzan schizo masculine man mode, and it's like, that guy was watching us. He's a pervert. I'm not going to stand for that. And he just runs off. In the book, the main girl had her shirt off, and Jake is really offended, kind of on her behalf, but also that there was some guy who was watching them, and it's like uncomfortable and perverted, and he wants to go talk to this guy. So in the book, it makes more sense because he kind of wanted to protect the honor of his girlfriend, whereas in the movie, it makes no sense at all. It's just stupid. So we need to rewind a bit, because what happens in the movie when they go to mom and dad's house? Well, what happens is that basically every like shot and scene at mom and dad's house, um, mom and dad are changing ages, they're changing personalities almost. Sometimes dad has dementia, sometimes mom has dementia, sometimes mom's on her deathbed, sometimes dad is fucking on his deathbed. It's like all over the place. Every time you go into a new room, people are different ages. This is where the main girl tells the story about how they met, where Jake and her were at a college bar trivia night, and then Jake slipped his number in her coat, I think, and then she called him, and then she thought he was funny, and she liked how he thought about things. A lot of her reflections are what she liked about him, or what she likes about him. That's what makes the novel interesting, in that you don't just think that this is a terrible relationship that has no chemistry, that's doomed to fail. You think, oh, these people do have some chemistry. She likes him, but there's clearly something going on with her that makes her want to leave. And she's like really reluctant, and there's all these kind of problems going on in her head. So you don't know if the problems are actually in the relationship or just in how she understands the relationship. But the movie doesn't have any of this shit. So the movie just fails completely to like establish an actual meaningful relationship to even care about at all. So now we'll move on to the ending. So they're in the school, they're going around, and in the book, this is played like a thriller where the janitor is now like stalking her down the halls. He's playing this weird music. She's kind of like hiding, running for her life. She's reflecting on the decisions that she made. She wishes that she could just go back and be in her bed, blah, 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 all these kinds of things. And then it gets really bizarre, and she kind of starts like almost talking as if she's Jake, or Jake's talking to her. And the way it does, how like dialogue works where like a new person speaks and it does like an indentation, it kind of like starts doing that in a confusing way. So it's like she meets Jake, but Jake's not actually even there. Jake's like in her head. And then they go to the janitor's place and they see the janitor, and then it just kind of ends. And this is where I will tell you the big twist, and I'll tell you it from the book's perspective. Between each chapter, there is an italicized section about a conversation between what appears to be two crime scene or like FBI criminal investigators. And at the end, they discuss how basically the janitor at this school killed himself and then left this kind of manuscript novel. And one of the investigator people is like, oh, you're going to want to read this. Yeah, it's really strange though, but he wrote it from the woman's perspective. So what you're supposed to understand is that this story that you've read is the final book that this janitor wrote to kind of give himself something positive to think about, because he struggled in work and in his life so much that he had to go to the one time he had any opportunity at love that he thinks, which was when he met this girl during trivia, but he actually didn't slip the piece of paper in her pocket, and that relationship didn't go anywhere. So the book is just his fantasy, and then the I'm thinking of ending things is basically the janitor calling the protagonist in the story, the girl, and saying like, you know the answer, you know the question, you know what you need to do. So it's kind of like a metafiction almost, where you have the girl who is getting calls, but the calls are actually from the janitor. It's kind of like that strange mental illness. So I thought that was interesting, because to take it to how many levels we have. So we have the first level, we have a narration by a female point of view protagonist. And that, in the novel, diegetically is written by a male janitor. And then this book is written by a man as well, apparently. I thought it was written by a woman until I looked up and saw pictures of the person. Maybe I'm assuming the wrong gender, but we got 2 levels of guy and one level of girl. The reason I think this is interesting is because in the movie, when they're driving to the school, instead of having a moment where they both kind of like reconnect and kind of like rebuild that relationship spark, instead what the movie opts to do is the movie opts to have Jane, the female character, go on a anti-sexism feminist rant, which is out of left field. It makes no sense at all. It is genuinely insane. It is crazy. And it's like, what the fuck is even happening? So like that ruins any kind of spark in the relationship for them to have that makeout session. And it kind of comes off as maybe Jake's like kind of like assaulting her, and he kisses her a little bit. And then like I said, he somehow sees the janitor peeping on them through the hole and like just goes crazy mode and then disappears for the rest of the movie until he does like a whole pirouette dance. So like what happens in the movie, there's like a whole literally interpretive dance section where 2 characters come in to replace Jake and Jane, and they're dancing around, and then the janitor hugs fucking Jane at some point, and it's fucking stupid. And then Jake is doing like a monologue like he's some Southern general after the Civil War and the slaves got freed, and he's reflecting on how bad that is because he was a general for the South or some fucking shit, and then fucking dies presumably. I don't even fucking know. And his mom is like sitting in the corner laughing her ass off, and then I think at the end of this monologue, she like literally the camera turns over to her and she's like a fucking skeleton corpse or something. It's like a fucking jump scare in the thing. But in the movie, they don't explicitly reveal that Jake was the janitor or that the janitor wrote this story. It's just kind of like, oh, okay, the thing's over and then that's it. Okay, whatever. Good luck, have fun. So it's somehow, I don't know. I don't think the book was unsatisfying, but I thought the movie was very unsatisfying. It was terrible. So I want to get to my biggest grievance against the movie is that this book contains my favorite passage that I've ever read. And I'm going to read it to you now. And the movie doesn't fucking have this, which is so frustrating to me. So this book has some amazing moments of just relatability. You know, I said the female character protagonist POV that we got is mentally ill. This section isn't so mentally ill, but I relate to it heavily. So I'm gonna open it up now. So here we go. So context. Like I said, Jane is getting chased around in the book by the janitor in the school, and this is written like a thriller section where she's like going around corners and trying to stay in the dark and all this kind of stuff, and she's reflecting on the decisions that she made in life. So it starts about, where is it? Okay, here we go. I have a candle. I have one, only one. I've never lit it, not once. It's a deep red, almost crimson. It's in the shape of an elephant, the white wick rising out of the animal's back. It was a gift from my parents after I graduated high school at the top of my class. I've always thought I would light that candle one day. I never did. The more time passed, the harder it became to light. Whenever I thought an occasion might be special enough to burn the candle, it felt like I was settling, so I would wait for a better occasion. It's still there, unlit, on the top of a bookcase. There was never an occasion special enough. How could that be? That section of this person having this candle, having this thing that they wanted to do, but always needing to wait for a moment that seemed special enough to do it, and then ultimately never having accomplished it, is the one thing that I relate to more than anything from this book, because that's the one thing that I struggle with more than anything. I have so many movies and so many things that I like and I think about doing, but I'm always waiting for the moment where I feel that my mood and my desire to do that thing are in such perfect parity that it will be the experience that I'm hoping to have. And the problem is that when I just do things, regardless of my mood, I always find that I have a good time. But it's such a difficult thing for me to get over that. So reading that in this book, to feel that scene by what somebody has written was very powerful of an experience. So I don't know. If you are a mentally ill person, I would suggest reading this book, because boy, there will be something probably in here that will make you feel like you were being seen by the author. and recognized, and maybe even validated. I don't know. I felt validated reading the book. The movie, the movie's fucking dog shit. I would say I'm very reluctant now to watch Synecdoche because the movie just fails on every level in terms of just telling a coherent narrative. And I'm not complaining that the movie was too abstract or too hard for me to understand or any of that stupid bullshit. But the movie was just dumb. The movie fails to present characters that you can even care about because, one, the voiceover work for the female is directed so terribly you can barely hear her. Oh, I can finally tell you my shit take theory about why her voice is so muffled and shitty for the voiceover, because Jake's voice is actually quite clear. We can hear Jake quite well, but the girl, her VO work, when you at least when we're getting her thoughts, but even when she's talking, it's not very clear. So here's my shit take. My shit take is that since the janitor is like an old man, and it's been at least 30 years since he's heard this girl's voice, maybe in the movie, that's why her voice is so kind of like just hard to hear in the movie. It's because he doesn't remember how she sounds, so it's harder for us to hear her. It's harder for him to remember how she sounds, so she comes off kind of like harder to understand in the movie. Now that is absolutely a shit take. That is not a serious defense in any means. I think she is just talking in garbled shit rocks in her mouth. But hey, I don't know. So the book, I would say I cannot recommend. If you are a mentally ill person, please read this book. But the movie, don't waste your fucking time. It's not worth watching. Don't show it to your friends. And maybe only watch it if you're like really drunk and you think that it will be fun to put on in front of 5 other people who are sober. That's my only recommendation for this movie. Anyway, that's my shit. That's what I gotta take. You gotta open your mouths up and swallow deeply. Thanks. Thank you for listening. Thank you.